Today we are going to talk on infective endocarditis. Now, infective endocarditis, by definition, it is the infection of the endocardial surface of the heart characterized by colonization or invasion of the heart walls, native or prosthetic, or the mural endomyocardium by a microbe. Now, leading to formation of bulky, friable vegetation composed of thrombotic debris and organisms, often associated with destruction of underlying cardiac tissue. So, this is the definition of endocarditis. Now, the sites which are involved are the heart walls, ventricular septum defects, mural endocardium, intracardiac devices. So, these are the places where the endocarditis affects. Now, if you take into consideration the classification, so it is classified into two groups, acute endocarditis and subacute endocarditis. Now, the features of acute endocarditis will be destructive and tumulous infection, frequently of a previously normal heart wall with a highly virulent organism. Hematogenesis means it can also come through the blood, and if untreated, it can lead to death within weeks. Subacute bacterial endocarditis, the organisms of low virulence are causing infection in a previously abnormal heart, particularly on deformed walls. Now, disease appear insidiously and pursue a protracted course of weeks to months. It recovers after appropriate antibiotic therapy. Now, predisposing factors. What predisposes to this infection? So, there is cardiac and valvular abnormalities, rheumatic heart disease, myxomatous mitral valve, degenerative cardiac valvular stenosis, bicuspid aortic valves, prosthetic valves. Now, then there are certain conditions which predispose, which are because of the compromised host resistance. So, what are these factors? So, neutropenia, immunodeficiency, malignancy, therapeutic immunosuppression, diabetes mellitus, alcohol, and IV drug users. So, here the immunity is as such compromised, and the person becomes more vulnerable to acquire the infection. The microbes which result in endocarditis, Staphylococcus aureus accounts for 35% of the cases. Either healthy or deformed walls get affected because of the Staphylococcus aureus. It is common in IV drug users and wherever there is implantation of certain devices in the heart. The other one is Streptococcus viridans. It accounts for 32% of the involvement of the patients. It results 32% of the patients get infected because of the Streptococcus viridans. It is native but previously damaged, and abnormal walls are affected by Streptococcus viridans. Enterococci accounts for 8%, and then the prosthetic wall endocarditis devices, some gram-negative bacilli and yeast can also result in endocarditis. Pathogenesis. So, in pathogenesis, we have to first see what is the portal of entry. So, the portal of entry can be dental or surgical procedures, because you harbor many pathogens in the mouth, and contamination by IV drug use. So, you also harbor pathogens on your skin, obvious infections, occult source from gut, oral cavity, injuries, trivial injuries can also result in endocarditis, where the host immune system is affected, intravascular catheter infection, nosocomial wounds, chronic invasive procedures. This is how it can get into the body. So what does it do? It results in endothelial injury, uninfected platelet fibrin thrombus formation takes place, there is transient bacteremia, and there is attachment at the NBTE, that is your uninfected platelet fibrin thrombus. Then there is proliferation and procoagulant state, infected, friable and bulky vegetations, they get formed, which normally what you usually want to look for in your echocardiogram. The morphology: friable bulky vegetation containing fibrin, inflammatory cells and microbes, aortic and mitral valves involved most commonly. The right side wall involvement is more common in IV drug users. What will be the clinical features? So symptoms are damage to intracardiac structures that results in cytokine release. There is embolization of vegetation, fragments, hematogenous infection and immune complex. Now if you look at this picture, you can see how various organs get affected by endocarditis. So subacute endocarditis, there is persistent fever, constitutional symptoms, new signs of wall dysfunction, heart failure. Then there are other manifestations because of the dislodgement of vegetations that results in embolic stroke, peripheral arterial embolism and other features which are found on clinical examination. So you can see subconjunctival hemorrhages. The varying murmurs, 90% have new or changed murmur. Conduction disorders can also develop in 10 to 20% of the patients. Cardiac failure can take place in 40 to 50% of the patients, and you can see hematuria in nearly 60 to 70% of the patients. Osler nodes in 5%, and you can come across petechial rash and sometimes loss of pulses. So these are the features you can see in the picture: fundus, nail, the petechiae. Now modified criteria, what is the criteria? So there is a modified Duke criteria for diagnosing infective endocarditis. So definitive endocarditis is there if 2 major or 1 major and 3 minor or 5 minor findings are there. Possible endocarditis can be considered if 1 major or 1 minor or 3 minor findings are there. So what is the major criteria? So major criteria is positive blood culture. Typical organisms from 2 cultures. So you have to take 2 different sites. Persistent positive blood cultures taken more than 12 hours apart. 3 or more positive cultures taken over more than 1 hour. Endocardial involvement. Positive echocardiographic findings of vegetations, new valvular regurgitation. And minor criteria are predisposition, means predisposing valvular or cardiac abnormality is already existing. Intravenous drug misuse, there is history of intravenous drug abuse. Pyrexia more than 38 degrees Celsius, means above 100.4 degree Fahrenheit. embolic phenomena which are diagnosed clinically, vasculitis, immunological phenomena, blood cultures suggestive organism growth but not achieving major criteria. These are the minor criteria which suggest endocardial findings. Now, how are we going to investigate? The investigations is blood culture. Key diagnostic investigation in infective endocarditis is blood culture. The isolation of microorganisms from culture is important for diagnosis and also for treatment. At least 3 sets of samples should be taken from different venipuncture sites over 24 hours. In the serology, it can be sent when the diagnosis is suspected and the cultures are negative. They aid in cases where the organisms will not grow in blood cultures. ECG to detect complications like MI, conduction abnormalities, and chest X-rays. These are the other modalities we use for diagnosing case of endocarditis. Echocardiography. It can identify the presence and size of vegetations. It can detect intracardiac complications and assess cardiac function. So, transthoracic echocardiography is non-invasive and has high specificity for visualizing vegetations. Transesophageal echocardiography is more sensitive than TTE. It can detect small vegetation, prostatic endocarditis and intracardiac complications. Complete blood counts may show anemia and increased WBC counts. Urea and creatinine may be elevated due to glomerulonephritis, liver biochemistry, serum alkaline phosphatase may be increased. The inflammatory markers, C-reactive protein, ESR are increased in infection. CRP also helps in monitoring response to therapy. Urine may show proteinuria and hematuria occurs frequently. Now, what treatment you are going to offer to the patient? So, antimicrobial therapy, it requires identification of specific pathogen and its susceptibility to antimicrobials. Empirical therapy should be started as soon as possible, targeting most likely pathogens. Bactericidal drugs should be used. The resolution of fever occurs in 5 to 7 days. If fever persists, patient should be evaluated for complications like paravalvular abscess and extracardiac abscesses. Serological abnormalities resolve slowly and do not reflect response to treatment. Antibiotic regime for infective endocarditis. Streptococci, we use benzyl penicillin 1.2 gram 4 hourly for 4 to 6 weeks. Gentamicin 1 milligram per kilogram body weight 8 to 12 hourly for 4 to 6 weeks. For streptococci, you have to use a combination of benzyl penicillin and 1 aminoglycoside gentamicin. If there is enterococci, then you have to consider ampicillin sensitive. It is ampicillin sensitive, so you have to use ampicillin. The dose is 2 grams 4 hourly for 4 to 6 weeks and along with gentamicin. If ampicillin resistance is there, then the other drugs which we consider will be vancomycin and in combination with gentamicin. Now, staph. For staph, if it is penicillin sensitive, benzyl penicillin 1.2 gram 4 hourly should be used. Penicillin resistant cases, you have to go for methicillin or flucoxetine 2 grams 4 hourly. Both penicillin and methicillin resistant cases, you have to consider vancomycin and gentamicin. Vancomycin is given 1 gram 12 hourly. Now, whether any surgical help can be extended to these patients. So, when are you going to consider surgery? What are the indications for surgery? So, patients with direct extension of infection to the myocardial structures, here you have to consider therapy. Prosthetic wall, if it is showing dysfunction, then you have to consider surgery. Congestive heart failure also requires surgical correction. Badly damaged walls, they also need surgery. And if there is endocarditis caused by fungi or gram negative or resistant organisms, again you have to take into consideration the surgery. Large vegetations on echocardiography, recurrent embolic attacks. If there are recurrent embolization to various organs because of the endocarditis, then you have to go for surgery. Now, prophylaxis, how can you prevent? So, higher risk category, prosthetic cardiac walls, previous bacterial endocarditis even in absence of heart disease, complex cyanotic congenital heart disease, surgically constructed systemic pulmonary shunts. The moderate risk category is rheumatic and other valvular dysfunction, congenital cardiac malformations, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, mitral valve prolapse and valvular regurgitation. They are moderate risk categories. The regime for infective endocarditis prophylaxis, the standard oral regime is amoxicillin 2 grams 1 hour before any procedure. And if patient is unable to take oral medication, ampicillin 2 gram intravenous or intramuscular 1 hour before procedure. If patient is sensitive to penicillin, is allergic to penicillin, you cannot give penicillin, then you go for clindamycin 600 milligram or clarithromycin 500 milligram, cephalexin 2 gram. These are the alternative drugs. Thank you.